So do you want to give Jake the link?
Uh,
Courtney, we're live. This is insane. Oh my God. This is insane. We have one thumb up, I think, from me. Oh, someone else entered. Oh my God. How can we tell? How can we tell if someone's here? I have no idea.
I
Oh,
don't
three.
know. Yeah, there's a thing up there.
Red Dogger is here. So hold on, let me talk
Okay.
to Red Dogger. We're gonna start fucking slinging takes in a second. Just 1 second.
Okay. There's a couple more people.
Are there
No.
thousands of people here yet?
Uh,
Okay, guys, we're gonna wait until we hit 10,000. So just hold on.
yeah, it should just be a couple of minutes.
And then just okay. So Twitter. I'm here from Twitter hell, dude. Yeah, Twitter hell, dude or lady. All right, I'll tweet out. All right. Well, it's true. Some people contain legion. That's a really good point.
That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, that was a weird experience. I didn't really know what to say because he was like clearly losing his marbles on stage live in front of everybody, as I may be doing this evening.
Oh, right. You're back from
Uh,
your.
yeah. So yeah, if it looks like I'm
First of
doing
all, thank
something
you,
else while
everyone.
we're talking, that's because I am doing something else while we're talking.
That's
Yeah, I know. I'm really embrace live streaming. Just kill me. Okay. I don't know. Anything's
so
possible.
no. We have 42 people. Okay, we should probably. Ooh,
Okay. All right. That's pretty good. Yeah.
sort of as a more low tech way to react to big events like this. And Derek, maybe I should just start here because I was not being hyperbolic. I don't know if people follow me on Twitter or X, the everything app, but I genuinely thought that there might be nuclear use here, primarily no way out without a significant concession by Trump. And it does seem like, at least at this moment, there have been significant concessions. So, what is your take, I guess, initially on this thing? First of all, did you ever fear genuine nuclear use, or or not?
Uh, I mean, define fear. Like, I didn't think it was above a 50% chance, but I mean, anytime the chance of nuclear use is greater than 0%, I think that's a reason to be worried. And it was, I think, greater than 0% here. I think he's going to need to rock the soda machine a few times before he does that, though. Like it would have taken a couple more like sustained embarrassing failures
What did you think about
to get him
the
to
thing
that
that
point.
was really interesting to me was the internal stuff from the Pentagon. What have you been hearing about that? It seems like that might have been a genuine civil military
In
tension there.
terms of what, that
Wasn't
people have
Hexeth
been disobeying Pete Hegseth's
Yeah.
dictates.
Did you hear
I don't
about
know.
that?
I mean, I saw a tweet about it, but that's all I know. And
Okay, there
I
wasn't
mean,
anything real.
I mean, he could be asking them to bomb Agrabah for all. I mean, it crawls out of his gin bottle long enough to come up with an idea. And they're like, "Well, we can't do that, sir, because that place doesn't really exist except in a cartoon." And then what do you do? I mean,
What
I
is
I
that?
think I would guess, and I'm not a military person. I was never in the military. I would guess that a lot of them don't necessarily have a ton of respect for their Fox morning show Secretary of War, and that he speaks in ways that are embarrassing. And we're talking about the professional class, like the officer class here, not
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
necessarily the rank and file, but the generals, the colonels, the admirals, etc. Um, I think he talks and has been talking for 6 weeks now in ways that are embarrassing, like deeply embarrassing to those people who all regard themselves as like scholar warriors or whatever the fuck. And to have the Secretary of Defense talking about death and destruction and basically masturbating himself at the podium every day to it, I think is probably embarrassing for them. But I mean, is there going to be was there a point where somebody was going to like really refuse an order and cause a constitutional crisis? I doubt it. Like these guys are cut. They're trained not to do that. So I think it's
Well, what would
was very
usually
unlikely.
happen what would usually happen is they would slow roll it. I mean, that there has been, like, cases of civil military disobedience, and just
Yeah,
so
I
what
mean,
everyone.
but
Yeah, yeah,
that
go.
that wouldn't have been available if Trump had gone ahead with like nuke Iran or whatever the plan was. Then you can't really slow roll that in the moment. So I guess that could have forced a breaking point, but I just don't. I don't see it.
So what is your initial reaction to the deal? So my understanding, as we were talking about on chat, that this has been something that has been available for several weeks at this point. And I mean, the two biggest things as I just went through it is immediate sanction relief, and also effectively now a toll to be split with Oman, which would be gigantic losses for Trump. So yeah,
Yeah,
so what's your
I.
take?
So I mean, that's all to be decided. Like what we know now is there's going to be a 2 week break. Trump said it was a ceasefire. Initially, like his social media post made it sound like it was a pause in just his like deranged genocidal plan to destroy everything in Iran. And then, but then 2 sentences later, he's talking about a ceasefire. So I was like, I don't really know. But then Abbas Araghchi, the Iranian foreign minister, has now issued his own statement, basically conditioning their ceasefire on the U.S. Israeli ceasefire. But it does sound like the proposal is for 2 weeks of no fighting, during which time the Strait of Hormuz will be open. I think this is where it could fall apart, actually, because Trump uh, gave the impression that it would just be open as before, and everybody, ships would just be able to come and go as they please. The statement from Aragchi qualifies that quite a bit conspicuously and says that it will be possible to transit the strait with coordination with the Iranian armed forces, and as logistically possible. So they're not giving up the idea that they are the last word and whether a ship can get through this body of water at this point, nor should you expect them to in return for a 2 week ceasefire. Like this is something that they're going to hold. I mean, they're talking about doing a toll situation. I don't think the Omani government has any interest in this. I mean, maybe if they thought it would avoid resumption of the war, they would jump on it. But I mean, who's really going to be interested in setting up a toll booth in the Strait of Hormuz? I don't know. But at the very least, they're going to hold on to that as long as possible and extract whatever concessions they can get in peace talks. Um,
So it doesn't seem like this
people
is
ask
over, right?
people ask in the chat here, like what are the Israelis going to do? I don't think they can sustain continuing to attack Iran if Trump uh, pulls the leash, and there is a leash. I mean, I know this has been Benjamin Netanyahu leading him around by nose the entire time, but there is a U.S. leash here. Like there is a client state and a patron. And if anybody would exert the power of that relationship, then the Israelis will have to stop. So I mean, I think that they could play spoiler here, but I don't think that Trump would even have gone through with this if it wasn't clear that. And by the way, like this is funny. Ryan Grimm, at Dropside, he tweeted after the Pakistanis, after Shahbaz Sharif, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, released the ceasefire proposal. Apparently, if you go back through his tweet, which he did it on X. I don't know what we're calling X posts, but he posted it on X. And if you go through the revision
He
history of this
falsed.
thing, it's clear that this was sent to him and he changed a few things and put it out and didn't really actually change anything initially, and put it out and then had to edit it after the fact. But it seems pretty clear that this was sent to him, probably presumably by the U.S., which you would think would have been done in some coordination with the Israelis. I don't know. Anyway, just to say, I don't see the Israelis playing spoiler here. They may and probably will continue operations in Lebanon. I know people are asking about that too. Um, but they announced today that they're not going any farther than they already are, which is about 10 kilometers south of the Litani River. That's much less territory than they were expected to occupy. And I think it's because they're getting heavier resistance than they expected from Hezbollah. They're claiming that this was all part of the plan all along. They were going to stop at this point, but I don't believe that.
Derek, it seems like that we might be getting a click in the audio. I actually don't think it's me. I just took out my headphones. Do you want to try on yours for a sec while I talk for a minute?
Uh, I'm
Um,
not. Yeah, uh, I don't hear a click.
Yeah, I think it might have went away. Well, YouTube. I thought maybe that was the click of them tapping our line. I used to hear
Yeah,
that click
maybe.
in the '70s when they tapped the line. I think it's back. One of the things that also was interesting is that clearly the GOP like elites are trying to distance themselves from it. There were all those leaks today about how everyone told Trump it was a bad
Yeah.
idea, except the Israelis. So I
There's
mean,
okay. There's one guy leaking this shit, and it's JD Vance. I mean, like all the story, like the story in the New York Times about which was just a rehash of a story that they had published, or the Wall Street Journal or somebody had published about Netanyahu kind of boxing Trump in the Situation Room and really browbeating him into starting the war. And the upshot of both of those stories, and especially the Times story, was like JD didn't believe this was a good idea, and he didn't want any part of it. And he's predicted everything that's happened since then. With perfect accuracy, he didn't say anything about it, but trust me, he knew exactly how this was going to unfold. I mean, it's obvious who this is coming from. Like, there's no question who the leaker is.
that at least is interesting. I mean, I'm sure you've seen this ridiculous thing where Marjorie Marjorie Taylor Greene was she invoking the 25th Amendment or demanding the military take him out? I mean, this is
Well,
actually, I think, a
what he
genuine.
said this morning was deranged. It was genuinely deranged. A civilization is going to die tonight. Like
Right.
that is genuinely cause for pulling the plug. Like if we had a functioning political system, but we don't. So
Yeah, but I mean, I do think there is actually a genuine reconfiguration of American politics happening right now. And I mean, the problem is that these things always get um diluted because we just have these gigantic political parties, and like what they do is they channel dissent and dilute dissent. But there is like, I think, for whatever reason, I think oftentimes xenophobic and racist reasons, I think there is a genuine constituency on the political right that harkens back to the pre-World War II period that is actually quite skeptical of intervention, that is trying to make itself felt. Um, I don't know what effect it's going to have because you can't really unite with them. You can't really develop a coalition with the Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuenteses and the whomevers of the world. So where
no,
does that political? I mean, it's just going to be in the political right, I guess, like a rump political organization, like a rump political position. Like I
yeah,
believe Tucker doesn't. Right. I think that is genuine, whatever it may be. But I just don't see like where that goes. Like I don't think the possibilities of a genuine cross coalition restraint coalition does not
it's not.
truly seem possible.
No, I mean because the goals are different, right? Like I don't want a war with Iran because I don't want like people to die. Tucker doesn't want a war with Iran because he would rather divert those resources toward beating up migrants in the U.S. and like
Yeah,
getting rid
whatever it
of
is. Yeah.
the non-white peoples. Like it's just not, they're not compatible goals. Like it's Ta-Nehisi Coates said something about this. I saw like like yesterday or earlier this week. Like these guys will turn on you in a millisecond if that's your coalition
Right.
partner. Like they just don't want the same things. And he was referring to Gaza and the Israel Palestine question, the fact that all these people have soured on Israel. It's because they've soured on Israel for, let's just say, their own reasons. It doesn't have anything to do with the Palestinians. It doesn't have anything to do with the humanity of the Palestinian people or the cause. It's about Israel and feeling like the U.S. is being controlled, and they don't like that. But when it comes to what you actually want to get out of that, they're not going to be on the same page.
Well, and this also, chat. I'm checking you out. Let me know if I'm lagging. I moved closer to the thing. My son is watching a video. Maybe I could tell him to stop. Am I chat? Am I still lagging?
You seem okay now.
No, I seem okay. All right. I moved right next to the thing. Well, I do think politically, I mean, this might be one of the more interesting things to come out of this is this political question, because what do you do with a restraint coalition? Right? Like how does, which I do think is actually a genuine impulse in American politics, regardless of the potential motivations for the various constituencies. And but then you look at the structure of the American state, and it seems like very difficult for me to see like where this actually goes, or how one makes this politically effective. And this is, to me, a central question of politics, because this just shows the insanity of centralizing power in the executive to this degree. Um, I truly don't know what to do. Like, I truly just see no way to make this a politically effective coalition.
Um, yeah, I don't. I mean, it would take somebody who's savvier about this stuff than I am. I mean, if you could focus on like one thing, one problem with the system, like $1.5 trillion on the military, and just say like, we know we have different responsibilities or different plans for that money if it gets cut out of the Pentagon. But can we just agree that that's too much money to spend on the military and get rid of it, and then we'll debate the other shit later, or the uh, accumulation of power in the executive. But they, I mean, I'm sure they approve of that, and so do most Democrats approve of it for their own
Well,
reasons. It's not
that's
necessarily because they want the ability to fight wars all the time, but they want to be able to do things without Congress getting in the way. And the aims are different, but nobody really wants to claw back, get back to where Congress is a real fun factor in anything.
that is just then it's not a matter of if but when. At some points, there's going to be some even more reckless leader who is going to be able to do something. And it just seems to me that this should be such a front and center. It really makes me despair sometimes that this is just an issue that no one's even talking about. To say nothing of the fecklessness of the Democratic Party, that they spent the last week arguing about Hassan is literally deranged. That
Yes.
they spent the last week arguing about Hassan, and literally the morning the president issued a genocidal claim about anti-civilizational politics. I mean, I don't know. Where do you go, Zoran?
I mean, I don't
Like,
know. I don't know. Like, you still had Democrats hours after he issued that, put that screed, like that unhinged post. You still had people like Josh Gottheimer tweeting like, the president still needs to come to Congress. We all support the war, but the president still needs to come to Congress and make his case and get authorization.
yes,
Like,
they could give him a
what are
Gulf
you
of
doing,
Tonkin,
man?
right? That's what they would give him,
Like,
right? That's the idea.
yeah, I mean, like, what are we doing here? If you can't oppose a man who says he's going to kill Iranian civilization in the span of a day, I mean, that's what he said. It's going to take one night to blow everything up, and you can't react to that with revulsion, and you're still doing this proceduralist stuff. What use are you? Like, what's your purpose at that point? And how do you think that plays to voters? Like, I know you're playing to the money people. I get that. but you also have to like not appear to be a pod person. And if you can't muster up some genuine emotion about a man who says something literally genocidal, what do you how do you think people respond to that? What do you think they look at you and think, "Well, that's a cool guy. I want him to be making policy for me. He seems like a well-adjusted person."
What do you think about the conspiracy theory that Trump knew this was coming? And because it does appear like a retreat, I guess maybe not a conspiracy theory, just be strategic, since it does appear to a significant degree like an American retreat, that he issued that statement in order to make it seem like it made them back down. I think that's not actually so wild that I think that that might have been because obviously this was in the works, right? Presumably, this didn't happen in the last 5 hours. So, I mean, some
Right.
part of me is like he said that so then he could appear, freak everyone out for the day. Then he could
I mean,
accept what
there's
is
yeah,
effectively kind of a loss for the
yeah,
United States. I mean, like I think there's no this is
but
like a
act like
flat
he
out
backed them
loss.
down. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, this is a
Um,
loss. This is actually a significant if there is ever a toll in the Strait of Hormuz, gigantic loss. If there is full
yeah,
sanction
I
relief,
think
which is
that's
what
we're
this
getting ahead of
says.
ourselves with that, but
So what do you think? Do you think
um,
obviously this is just a pause. What do you think is gonna what do you think is gonna happen?
yeah, I mean, I think there's a madman theory to it, like in terms of what he said this morning, and it also he sets up in a way that must be very appealing for a man who's still fundamentally a TV personality and not much more. I mean, it's like a season
You got
finale.
everyone talking.
Yeah, this big
Put
season
Trump
finale
in charge of
splash ending.
Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean that's the job he'd love. I mean, give him that and let him leave the rest of us alone.
Yeah, now that the
Um,
ballroom might be dead.
yeah, I don't know. The negotiations are going to be interesting. I think um, it's going to be hard to restart the war and not just come right back into where we left off with
Which is
Trump
ground, basically, right? Like
issuing this threat that he, you know, if we take that if we take it as a purely rhetorical device that was intended to intimidate them into a deal or set up a big, splashy finale, like that he wasn't prepared to fulfill, but he's going to be right back to that. Like, where do you go from there?
I mean, here
So
it's
I don't
ground,
know.
right? Like it would be ground. That's a really only escalate, assuming no nuclear
I mean,
use.
yeah, it would be ground or like what he was talking about doing, obliterating power plants and bridges, and
So
I mean, the
just
target package kept
war
expanding. It was
crimes,
power
yeah.
plants, then it was power plants and bridges, then we started bombing universities, then we started, we're bombing factories and like all this stuff that gets rationalized after the fact as dual use, like as if that same standard wouldn't apply to every single thing in the United
You could use
States of America
electricity
or any other
for
country.
anything,
Yeah.
Derek.
Like, I
Just get
mean,
rid of
fucking
all
electricity,
electricity.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, we better like suck the oxygen out of the atmosphere because their soldiers are breathing it in. Like,
Well, the
I mean,
US will never
what do
be
you,
truly safe until every other nation is destroyed. I mean, like that's where the logic
yeah,
goes. Like I was on Glenn Lowry's podcast and I was doing a pod with Lawrence Kotlikoff, who is an economist. And the logic is like, well, in 10 years, Iran might have this weapon. Well, I mean, in 10 years, anyone might have any weapon. So I think you pretty much need to annihilate the entire world in order for the United States to be safe. And this is the sort of strategic logic that we're operating within here. But but assuming this is just, I mean, and also like, who knows? Like Trump, this could be a feint, and in 48 hours he does something. He ground invades Karg Island. I mean, this is the I don't know, maybe I'm naive, I don't think that's going to happen, but, like,
no,
why not? You know?
um, I mean, yeah, he's one mood swing away from doing something, but I don't think that would wreck the finale. He's gonna revel in like all these people saying how wise and smart he was to force the Iranians to back down, and he's just gonna roll with that. I think because all I mean, all he wants is pats on the head for this shit. Like that's what he got for Venezuela. That's what he wants out of this. Like he just wants people to tell him he's a very good president and doing such a good job, and he's a smart boy. Um,
But is there any world in which this actually results in a lasting agreement? Because it just seems like there's a bunch of non-starters from my mind as a layperson vis-a-vis precise US-Iran relations, but what do you think? As someone who studied medieval Persia.
yeah. I mean, what's that look like? What is the permanent like? How do you get the Iranians? How do you convince future U.S. administrations and Israel, which has a vested interest in maintaining this conflict as long as it takes to just burn the entire Middle East to the ground? Like, how do you convince those actors that Iran no longer poses a quote unquote threat? And how do you convince the Iranians at this point that there's any deal or any modus vivendi that they can trust is going to last, beyond tomorrow? Like, it's just there's it's going to take a long time to get to the point where anybody can communicate with any sense of reliability or credibility, and actually achieve something here. Can you end the war? Yeah, probably. Will that end with Iran Iran tolling ships in the Strait of Hormuz? I still think that's probably unlikely, but I don't know.
Maybe just as a final topic before we go on our first real ever live stream is that I've been making a lot, and I'm finishing up a piece right now on this issue of multipolarity. What do you think about the is it a rumor or is it reported that China has quote unquote encouraged Iran to take this? Do you think this is bullshit or do you think that's something real?
I mean, I haven't seen that. It's probably real. I mean, this is a headache for China,
Well, it's
so
interesting
why
because
not?
I think China doesn't want anything to do with this right now, and that the Taiwanese leader's visit just began today. I think this is really a crucial moment of transition for this whole situation here. I think, yeah, I think that again, this could be indications that this is going to be quote unquote within the U.S. sphere of influence going forward, um, and that's what this could all represent. So, I guess before we go, Derek, any final thoughts? I think we're going to record a more comprehensive thing on this tomorrow morning when more news comes out and more reporting comes out. But any final thoughts before we mosey on that dusty trail?
Uh, I wish he would stop doing these things at 8 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night, because it really affects my workflow.
That is from your mouth to Hegseth's ears. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. I think we're going to start doing more of these. So bookmark American Prestige. Tell all your friends. Check out Mark's Prestige if you haven't yet. That's a nice, fun little distraction. And as always, keep on rocking in the free world. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks everybody. Thanks for putting up with our dunderness and the fact that I have a cold. I appreciate it.
I think you sound beautiful, Derek. Bye, guys.
Thanks. Great. Bye.